Hey friends, welcome to another edition of the Tennis and Bagels podcast. This is your host Vansh, and joining me today we have a very special guest. First time on this podcast. I follow him on Twitter. He does some great work, some really good analysis, and he writes for the Action Network. So definitely check him out. And his name is David Gertler, and here he is on your screen on the left if you're watching on YouTube. But hey there, David, how are you doing today? It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, thank y'all so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I love talking women's tennis, especially. So I was so glad when you reached out.
Yeah, no, it was long overdue, and I know what a big fan you are of women's tennis, and there's no better guest, I think, in my opinion, to break down this 2023 Wimbledon women's singles draw with you. So I'm happy to just dive right in, go section by section, unless you have some maybe broader takeaways that you kind of had, like just looking at the draw first glance without looking into any match in specific, like what stood out to you?
Oh, the third quarters. What stood out to me? Wow, it seems unbalanced, right? You have in that third quarter, you have Jabeur, you have Jabeur, former finalist, Pliskova, former finalist, Kvitova, two-time champion, Haddad Maia, who proved last season that she is a threat on grass. You have Ostapenko, who just won a grass title. You have Rybakina, last year's champion. And I mean, you even have Katie Bolter, who just won a grass court event herself this season. It is good. That third quarter is definitely what stood out to me. And really, the bottom half as a whole, just it feels uneven, right? At least to me. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think uneven is a good way to put it, actually. I was thinking it was kind of unbalanced as well, just because you have a lot of the bigger hitters on the bottom half and a lot of the flatter, first strike tennis players who can really just take the racket out of your hand. And then, in a way, I think, we'll get onto this, but I think it's a great draw for Iga Swiatek to just not have to play any of those power hitters and players. And she pulled out of bad homework this week, citing the, full and illness. And, I don't know, like generally, like these are pretty speculative, like, you just do this like as precaution, before a couple of days before the event starts. And, if it's really something crazy, like, we'll find out on Monday, like how much it's really impacting her. But I wouldn't suggest it's much to really worry about in terms of like her chances as far as the first couple of rounds.
No, especially with how soft her early round draw is. It feels like she'll have time to gain momentum, gain form through her. I really always take these major injuries and illnesses with a grain of salt, big time, because ultimately everyone wants to, same with Ostapenko, right? Like she pulled out yesterday after with Georgie. It's like, all right, we know that if she won that set, she wasn't going to pull out. If she lost that set, she was going to pull out. So I don't usually take it seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess if we just talk about the section, I mean, obviously we have Martins as the third round seed, and we have, and I know you're gonna have your eye on the Trevisan versus Saras Rubis. That's just your kind of match with two of the best clay quarters, I guess, at Roland Garros the last 2 or 3 years. But I mean, like, do you see sort of like, I mean, Bencic is the fourth round seed, but she's not been really playing a ton lately, and her confidence is really in doubt in terms of like, especially since I would say the Middle East swing she hasn't really been, a major contender anywhere, and she pretty much skipped most of the clay court season too.
Yeah, it's such a shame because she actually considers grass as her favorite surface. She's 53-25 on grass in her career. It's such a shame that she's so undercooked, right? Like if she had played some grass warm-ups and had some moderate success, I would probably consider her the favorite to reach the quarterfinals. But unfortunately for her, it's hard to, and Katie Swan will have the British crowd behind her. I don't necessarily think that's a given. And then you have a big hitter in Danielle Collins. And so for me, it's no guarantee she even makes the third round, let alone can go deep. You are right. I loved me some SST, despite what happened at the French Open. I think that she probably beats Trevisan, and she'll give Iga a test in the sense of the ball's not going to be in Swiatek's strike zone. With the backhand slice, she's going to spread the court, the drop shot. It's going to be It's going to be, I think, I can't remember if we were on air or off air. You talked about the Kerber match with SST a couple years ago. She can play on grass better than I think people think. And so I think it's a very safe test, for Swiatek early. And if she can overpower Sorribes Tormo and gain that rhythm from the baseline on grass, which she sometimes lacks, I think it'll be a good sign. I think that, I wonder what your thoughts on Harriet Dart. Do you think she can make the third round, where she's positioned in the draw?
Yeah, I kind of, with these Brits, like I see a lot of success generally, in Nottingham, for example, or on these English grass courts where they just have loads of experience over the rest of the field. So I do kind of like them in the early stages just to kind of make some noise. And then after the third round, I'm really not so sure anymore.
Yeah.
But I definitely think against Diane Parry, that's going to be somewhat interesting. If it was on a clay court or a hard court, I probably would have said no chance. But I just think, I think Dart can, bring some firepower, especially off the backhand. She can hit it pretty deep and hard down the line. And I think that opens up things for her. And, I don't know how battle tested Diane Parry really is on the grass so far.
I believe she had 8 career matches on grass. Actually.
Yeah, it's like a very small sample size compared to Dart, who was grew up on this stuff. So I definitely could see her challenging for a third round spot. I probably would still back Martic, just because I do think that low backhand slice is going to work very well in terms of, especially even if she plays Iga, it's going to be a good test for Iga to she's going to be put in places in the court where she's not as comfortable, and maybe she might be drawn in. She might be forced to come to the net a few more times. She might be, having to, for instance, scrape forehands with that Western grip, really from a really low contact point. And I think it could just be a great test because, Martin is not really going to blow her off the court. She does usually have some big injections of pace on the forehand wing, but it doesn't seem like it's not a player who can overpower Iga, let's just say. So in terms of building baseline rhythm and largely playing the kind of tennis she wants to, I don't think there's anyone in this. That's why I think she has a really good draw, Swiatek, because I just don't see anyone who can really blow her off the court.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually think that having Sorribes Tormo the round before Martic will help her because, like I was saying before, that backhand slice is something that Sorribes Tormo, especially on grass, applies a lot. So that'll kind of get Iga used to the low skidding shots when Petra Martic, which, as you mentioned, has one of the best backhand slices on the tour. I think it'll be a nice warm-up for her. And I think the big thing for Swiatek is that there's no massive hitters that are gonna your Ostapenkos or Rybakinas or Sabalenkos that can just, especially on grass, make her feel so rushed and uncomfortable. And so I think that's very good that she kind of got some less powerful players.
I'm curious to see who her fourth round opponent will be, because that bench section is pretty wide open. I could even see Katie Swan maybe be primed for the upset just because of how little rhythm benches just has, and she's tended to kind of underperform in majors even when she's healthy. So
right.
But I look at in the past I would have said Streetsova or something, but of course she's not at that level right now, and she's coming off a protected ranking, and it's probably too much of an ask, and maybe.
I do think Streetsova is going to beat Zanevska.
I do too, yeah.
I don't like Zanevska on grass, and Streetsova actually already beat her earlier this season since her comeback on clay. And so the name that stands out to me, and I know she's not had a lot of success recently, but Danielle Collins, if she can put it together, which, maybe she gets some confidence, because Grabber is not good on clay. I mean, off of clay. And so maybe she can get some confidence from that match. And then maybe if it's Katie Swan, she can overpower her. And so I think that, if Danielle, and this is such a big if she can just find her range from the baseline and not hit 1,000 unforced errors, she could be dangerous.
Yeah. I tend to think so, especially because she did that a few times last year. I think she didn't play anything after Wimbledon, or she played one clay tournament post Wimbledon, and then she just went straight to the Open. And then, got to the fourth round, it was a setup on Sabalenka, and it seems like it's easier for her to find that kind of footing on a hard court, but I definitely could see it, if she's totally in the zone here.
it's just like who else, right?
Yeah, it's like this is kind of a like section where it's like, yeah, there's just a lot of chances, and I just don't know. Like, just kind of depends who shows up on what day. But like,
yeah, and that's really this top quarter as a whole. It's
yeah,
like, you know, would it? I think that, and I'm curious what you think. I think in this bottom half of the top quarter, I have Kazakina as the favorite here. Now, as you were saying, I know this was pre-recording that winning or maybe someone on DM, someone was telling me recently that winning Eastbourne's not good necessarily.
yeah. I don't think anyone's ever like won Eastbourne and then gone on to win Wimbledon, or even get to the second week is pretty tough for most of the previous winners. Although, yeah, I mean, I think we were talking off air that like the Kazakina going deep and fighting. Yeah, that's the week before a major like hasn't tended to bode well for the early round, especially like she won the title in Granby and then lost in the first round to Harriet Dart at the U.S. Open, and then I think of the Australian Open this year where again she was helped out by some withdrawals, of course, in that tournament, but then she lost in the final of Adelaide 2, another 500, and then went out early, didn't have anything left against Varvara Gracheva, or
Gracheva,
yeah. and then now this year, I mean, she's in the final against Keys of Eastport, so
yeah,
I wonder, but
it will be interesting how she handles that big hitter, in Keys.
Yeah.
And whether she's able to force errors like she did with Georgie today, or whether Keys just blasts her off the court. I do think that the draw in the first round is favorable. I know Dolahide has a big serve, but she really has that heavy, big wind up on the forehand. I think that you're going to be able to rush her. I also don't think that she's gonna, gonna be able to like move around that well and be able to retrieve the variety in terms of like Kazakina's drop shots and then the slices at her ankles. I don't love that matchup for Caroline. McNally in the second round could be tough though.
Yeah, she's actually a dark horse that I had pre-tournament. McNally, just because the game to like kind of move forward, the slice, the finishing touches at net, the serve is a little bit better, and she's like kind of more confident in terms of her baseline level now, where I feel like it's like you could firmly say like, okay, she's a top 75 player.
Yeah.
Whereas you couldn't really say that, like for instance, last year at this time, and it's like, I think her floor has gone up.
I like her on quicker surfaces too. I think she has a nice attacking game. And Burge in the first round, Burge did make a WTA final, I believe in Nottingham earlier this grass season, but when I watch her, I don't see much, honestly. I don't see very high ceiling, and I think that McNally's the better player.
I agree.
And so that'll be interesting. What do what are your thoughts on Coco?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a mixed bag because I was impressed with her performance over Pegula, but then again, she and Pegula are friends, like they practice and train quite a bit, and Pegula I thought didn't really play a very smart match. Like she was up 3-love in the second set and just made a lot more unforced errors than we're used to seeing, and I thought Goff had a fairly good day on her forehand, and she was doing a good job of mixing in the slice as well, which I think is a good option for her on grass, and probably one that she could use a bit more because she's not going to have that clay court effect, for instance, on grass, where she can just use that, forehand down the line pattern changing shot to then, lead into her backhand, for instance, if she goes line or hard deep cross court, and because she wants to be hitting as many backhands as possible. And I just think on grass, like unless and I don't think Pegula is the type of player that for instance, like Alexandrova did like the week before and just rush that forehand wing and then just get a lot of purchase out of it. Like Pegula is she's going to be a lot more flat and accurate and linear, and I think that's probably gives Goff a little bit more time, and when Goff has time, she can that's where she can impose the rest of her game, not the forehand. But no, to your point, I think she's positioned to do well here. I just think Kenin in the first round is tricky coming off the qualities and having won those 3 matches here, and then also who else in this section really? I mean,
and I think that the section, I know that Kazakina leads the head-to-head with Goff 3-0.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I feel like Goff, like you were saying, you have your Alexandrovas, your keys that are able to just blast her off the court.
Yeah.
And I think that she largely avoided that with this section. You get Kenin in the first round. Now, Kenin did diffuse Townsend's game, which I was in qualies, which I was impressed that Kenin qualified.
Yeah.
She is, a major champion. She's a great competitor. I do like Goff's chances there. And then let's say, I think it'll probably be Storm Hunter in the next round. Big lefty serve, big lefty game. But the thing about playing a lefty playing Goff is that it goes into her strength with the cross-court forehand into her backhand. And that lefty slider out wide on the ad side can go into Goff's backhand, which is by far a better shot. And then, like, whether it's Svitolina or Mertens, they're both game competitors. And, Venus, good for her for beating Georgie. As a Georgie fan, that was extraordinarily disappointing. But good for her for winning that. I don't think she's going to beat Svitolina. I don't think she has the rally tolerance. Regardless of whether it's Mertens or Svitolina, though, in the third round for Goff, they just don't have the power to rush her forehand and rush her like Keys or Alexandrova does. So I actually think it's a pretty good draw, at least until the fourth round for Goff. And, Goff Goff generally beats the players she's supposed to beat. So,
yes.
And what do you, and I know Vika, we haven't talked about Vika. She's sitting there, but she's out of form. I really don't like how she's playing, to be honest.
I'm not high on her at all right now. I haven't really liked what I've seen, like, since Australia, to be honest. Like, just hasn't really been there. Like, in the flashes, like, I'm not feeling good about the, like, her draw is okay. Like, she has a shot for sure. Like, if she gets to the third round, but it's just, I don't really know. I don't really see it. Like, I don't really see it for her this tournament. But, like, maybe I'm sleeping on Runchakova or something, because she's had some good results recently, and she beat Towson in the qualies, and she has a win over Andreescu as well this grass season. And
yes, although do you remember that match?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Andreescu, how many had like 10 set points in the first set and then imploded.
Yes. That was not a good match for me.
Big serve.
Yeah. No, she does. That's why I was gonna give her a shot, because like if she serves really big and has a really high first serve percentage or something, but I just think Svitolina is probably gonna absorb that serve much better, and especially with the Venus Williams match under her belt, and just overall her confidence from Roland Garros, and she kind of has that swagger about her now, and she's just kind of just playing a lot better. Like, honestly, might be some of her best tennis. So
you're talking about Svitolina, right?
Yeah.
Or Kuzmova. Runchakova.
Runchakova or something. Yeah.
By the way, folks, that's Kuzmova for those that don't know. That was her maiden.
That was her maiden name, but now,
yes, because that confused me when I'm like, who is this in the draw? And then it made sense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, here's just a name to keep in mind, is that I think that if, let's say, Azarenka makes round 2, Martinsova is better than you would think on grass. She's had some success over the past 2 years. She's played over 50 matches on grass. What she does well, which I actually think Magdalena Freak does well is that they are able to rally. The bounces on grass don't affect them as much as they affect other players. Like, they're able to stay consistent and move the ball around in grass in a way that a lot of players struggle with. So just keep that, and just another name to keep in mind.
Yeah, I do like her on the faster surfaces in particular. Martinsova.
And Podoroska is a good first-round matchup for her.
Yeah, for sure. But honestly, I probably have Goff coming out of the section still, just because, I just see her after the Kenin match, especially, like, not having many issues. My dark horse was McNally, but so I really want to see a match between McNally and Kazakina.
Yeah, I see. My pick would be Kazakina. My dark horse in this section would be I guess we can't really call Coco a dark horse. Who my dark horse is going to be? My dark horse will be Svitolina. I'll just say, she's made a semifinal, right? Like I know she doesn't have the greatest grass court record, but she knows how to play big matches, at least until the later stages of majors. And she generally beats the players she's supposed to beat as well. We'll see what happens if she plays golf in the, third round. That'll be an interesting matchup. Back.
Yeah, that'll be a big test for sure. But yeah, kind of similar to Halep in a sense. I kind of consider Svitolina a little bit like Halep, but just
except for no major, but no major and no doping ban either. So it's kind of
given in terms of like that counter-punchy game style and just absorbing the pace on the backhand but not at the same time not really having that overwhelming power that could maybe, but at the same like not having that overwhelming power like of a big hitter that could disrupt Goff and the big forehand take back and all of those things, but at the same time it'll probably challenge Goff's ability to finish points. And
I think that the problem with Goff sometimes is she gets a little too defensive, relying on her athleticism and speed a little more. And on grass, you can't do that as much. You have to step up. And I thought that against Pegula yesterday, she did a very good job of stepping up in the court. But then again, Pegula, and I see her kind of like at the bottom of the screen. She's, I think that she actually has the draw to go on a little bit of a run. But at the same time, I think there's basically a zero. I don't like how she's playing at all. And I think there's basically a 0% chance she wins the event as a whole. I just think that she has a very favorable draw at the beginning, but it won't translate to what her actual level is, at least in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I haven't been too high on Pegula really since Charleston, to be honest. Really since Madrid, took an early loss on Rome, and then obviously the shocker was the 3-1 result against Mertens. She did have some food poisoning, I heard, like the week before, but she got through those first 2 rounds, and you wouldn't have thought it would be super one-sided in the way that Mertens was able to just, to take her apart like that, really. But in majors, so there has been a little bit of a thing going on where I felt like, okay, Pegula could have got a little deeper, especially in Australia when she played Azarenka, for instance. And, the overall floor, I feel like, is not quite as high as it was just 3-4 months ago. So maybe there are just some vulnerabilities there. And I would have thought before this that, maybe she can kind of pencil her into the quarters kind of a thing before I saw the draw. But I don't know. Like, I mean, like, for example, like Masarova, had she not like gotten injured yesterday or like, she was going to be one for me to watch for sure.
Now,
like,
she did post on Instagram. I don't know if you saw that she's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
That's what, it's coming from her, but I still, if she wasn't fine, I think she might have not posted anything at all. So the fact that she went out of her way to post that she's fine. We have Siniakova, who's in the final of Bad Homburg this week and is really playing another one that is fine with the bounces on grass, high rally tolerance, her variety, and the way her net game is world class. I think that, but I think in regards to Pegula, you mentioned it earlier, how she was making some errors yesterday against Goff, and how she was, I think that she just does not have the power, this is one of my buzzwords, the controlled aggression, I guess buzz phrase, the controlled aggression necessary on a surface like grass. And I don't think her serve is big enough either. Goff was able to break her 5 times yesterday. And so I don't trust her, especially if she has to play a Samsonova in the round of 16 or, even a Masarova. We saw even Camila Osorio, who, let's say she plays her in the 3rd round. She got a 6-1 set off of Pegula and Eastbourne. So that one, there's really no guarantees. I don't think Lauren Davis is going to give her problems, and I don't necessarily think, maybe Buxa can keep it fairly close. But do I have confidence in Pegula right now? No.
Yeah, I kind of feel similar, although the first 2 rounds are like, I mean, I don't see any issues in either match that she's supposed to play, but the third round is where it would get interesting against either a Masarova or an Osorio. Yeah, Osorio, especially with the variety that she has, and like you said, the 6-1 set does make me wonder kind of,
what's going on
is a little bit off, on that day. That could certainly be some problems. But, ordinarily, I would have said, Samsonova was a big favorite or something to get out of this section with the big game that she has on grass. But I've just not been high on her ever since she lost that Abu Dhabi final to Bencic from 4 match points up. I feel like, she's losing a few too many of these close matches where she's in prime position and she's showing good flashes of form in between, where you watch like 15 minutes of her and you're like, man, that serve and that forehand, absolutely unplayable right now. But then you also see like a bad patch where she's just missing wide and she's spraying a lot of errors long, and she's just not, just not playing very smart in her construction.
Exactly. Not playing very smart. And even when she's winning the close matches as well, Vansh, like when she played Papadakis in one of these grass court tournaments, when she won 7-6 in the third, but she still didn't look impressive in that match either. You're right. You watch 15 minutes and it's like, wow, she has a chance to win Wimbledon. Then you watch the next 15 minutes and it's like, oh my gosh, she's going to lose to Bogdan in round 1, right? Yeah. Bogdan can keep the ball in play and was not terrible this grass court season. And so, it's almost like the person that she might play, the player she might play in the second round, Alicia Parks, where it's just like every point feels like roulette. Is it going to be an ace? Is it going to be a double fault? Is it going to be a winner, unforced error? It's just such, not reliable tennis. And so this is another just wide open section of the draft.
Have you been a little bit underwhelmed by Zhang this year?
Yes.
Because I certainly thought by now she would be further along.
Yeah, I felt like she's maybe, I've heard, again, I can't remember where I'm hearing these things. She had a shoulder issue, apparently.
Yes, which she did, yeah.
Which would help explain some of her issues. But at the same time, I feel like she's not imposing herself from the baseline as much as she should. Like, when I was watching her on clay this year, and even though I know clay, you have to have the rally tolerance and all of that, I felt like there was that time she was just looping in too many shots when she could have really stepped up in the court. And then maybe in 2021 she did, or 2012, is it 2023? Geez, like in 2022.
Yeah, last year.
She could have been like where she was stepping in more and like, challenging Swiatek from the baseline, but she's the only one in 2022 who got a set off of her, and then to lose, I think Kudermetova is going to be a big threat in the top half, but she lost in straights to her. She lost in straights to Pegula, and then Pegula went on to look like crap afterwards. Second round of the French is not great. If we go back to clay season, it just feels like you're 100% right, that she's just not progressing like the way we expected her to.
Yeah. And let's see if something clicks, because I know obviously now Goff's coach is Pierre Riba, which was with Zhang there, so.
Yeah, I noticed. I saw him in the box. I was like, oh, when did this happen? I think he's a hitting partner, or maybe hitting partner coach, like a Sasha Baishin. I don't know. But that's it. That'll be interesting to see how that improves Goff's game and how it affects Kinwin.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I guess this is most of the top half, except for this. Kudermetova is one that, man, like she could go on a deep run, but it's just Vondrousova. Vondrousova is interesting to watch on grass too, just with the lefty serve, and at the same time she doesn't have a very big serve.
Yeah,
it's very kind of like Haddad Maya like, in terms of where it's like she keeps it like deep, like she does a good job of like not being like super attackable, but it's not like a weapon either,
Yeah. And then on grass, you need your first serve to be more of a weapon. And I don't think that her forehand, I think it's a little loopy for a quicker surface. I believe Vondrousova is only 7-12 on grass in her career. So it hasn't, while I think she has potential, I don't, she's not had success in the past. Kudermetova, though, is someone and that I think if not Swiatek's coming into this top half, I think it's going to be Kudermetova. To be honest, like she is 24, so she's had decent grass court experience. She's 24-14, and I believe 6-1 this season, having beaten Sabalenka in Berlin before she pulled out, and then also she made the Rosmalen final. It was very close, very, very close to winning that title over Alexandrova. I think that Kudermetova has the pace on the forehand, and I also think that she absorbs pace well, which will be important when she's playing someone like Kanepi in the first round, although Kanepi's playing like ITF clay events right now, or if she has to play Garcia or Samsonova in the Garcia in the fourth round or Samsonova in the quarterfinals. So I'm very high on Veronica. And I also think that she's a good matchup. I mean, that Vekic is a good matchup for her. So Vekic did make the final at Berlin, but Vekic has lost her last 6 sets to Kudermetova, including going 0-2 last season. It seems like, and I know Vekic was not at her current level for both those events, but I actually think that Kudermetova does a good job of absorbing Vekic's pace and counterpunching. And so while I would have liked Vekic in other circumstances, and basically any other circumstance in the top half, maybe besides Iga, I don't actually like her matchup against Kudermetova.
That's interesting. To be honest, I didn't know the head-to-head between Vekic and Kudermetova, so that's good that you bring that up, because I was going to probably have Vekic as my dark horse. And then you made a good point about the pace absorption also of Kudermetova, because she did that really, really well in that Sabalenka match. Like, my God, yeah. was that a big strength? Because, I mean, against most players with that level, Sabalenka still would have been able to push that to a third.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, just like, particularly on the backhand, like, just the way that she can just smoothly absorb it, it's quite good. And I also find her serve to be quite underrated and tough to read as well, just with the lower ball toss and just how quick that motion is. When it gets going, that thing can, you can get quite a good rhythm on it.
And I also think, you mentioned the serve. I think it's well placed. And also the fact that, like, and I know this isn't a lot of matches, but having played nearly 40 matches on grass, that's a lot more than like I mentioned before. I think Vondrousova is 7-12. That's nearly half. Like, she's got more grass match play than a lot of the players. And I also just want to mention you mentioned the head-to-head. That's just their last 3 matches. I can't remember if they played before that, but that was like the most recent ones.
Kind of consider Donna October 2022 and beyond a little bit different. So that there is that to
give it my course. And she loves the grass, and she has a great grass court person behind her in Pam Shriver. One of the best, in the business. So I think that was a great addition to her team.
Yeah, and then of course, it's just going to be interesting to see who retires Contavate, because of course, I actually, this could have been Sue Wei-Shea in the closers.
Yeah. Oh, but
I feel a bit. Yeah, I was a bit bummed out. I'm a Wei-Shea fan. Yes, no, Stefanini is a decent grass quarter, actually. I was watching her
two-handed on both sides.
Yeah, it's to watch her and Shea go at it was some experience for sure.
And I think Contavate will probably sneak that one out. I don't know, because it's so hard to say like where Contavate's rally tolerance is going to be. I don't think, if she does sneak it out, I don't think, Boskova last year showed she can play on grass.
I think it's going to be Boskova that ends it.
And honestly, like, I would not like Garcia's chances against Boskova either, given just how, Garcia is one of the most frustrating players, because it's just like so many self-inflicted. It's just so self-inflicted with her.
Way too overly aggressive.
Yeah. And just on the grass, do you really need to be standing like basically on the service line?
Yeah. And it's like one of those mindset things. Like if you ask her about it, she'll be like, that's just how it is. Like, I'm not really going to change it because I had no clarity the way before. But she's kind of taking that to the whole other extreme, where it's just like, it's so frustrating to watch her, because when it clicks, it's like, man, good luck. But then other times it's like, what are you doing? Just take a step or two back. But,
what do you think? Do you think that, I was going to ask, do you think Shui Zhang, but Shui Zhang's on such a long losing streak, even though she's pretty good on grass. But I am curious, do you think Vekic can be challenged by Sloane in the second round?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, Sloane has not had Sloane has not been on the grass right now, right? Like,
I don't think so.
I haven't seen her play any grass events the last 3 weeks. So, like,
Well, she lost early in one. We're forgetting.
yeah, no, I mean, certainly on grass, like she's made one Wimbledon quarterfinal before.
Not a great grass court,
but she's just not like she just doesn't have. Yeah, she just doesn't have that natural instinct. Like at least with Svitolina, you know that you're gonna get a little bit more offense, and you know the footwork is gonna be quite active, and you know like sort of, she's not gonna throw in a stinker usually below her level. But with Stephens, like I just don't know like where her head is at right now in terms of.
So she did make the quarterfinals of one of the craziest majors in the last 10 years.
2013?
And she was a part of Marion Bartoli's big run to the title.
I remember she actually played quite well that tournament, but it's just...
She was the closest to Bartoli. Like the semifinal and the final were a lot more lopsided than that. Quarterfinal was 6-4, 7-5. So she could have, she honestly could have been, if she won that match, given what we know, Flipkins in the semifinals, and then Sabine Lisicki was a mess in the final. She probably would have won the title if she won that match. That's pretty crazy to think about.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, I think, but I just figured, Sloane, you just never know. She sometimes plays up to the competition. I just thought I would ask.
Yeah, I mean, if she plays Vekic, that would already be a step up, because. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think we're missing anyone. I would be surprised if Garcia got to the quarters, personally.
You would be surprised. Yeah.
At this point.
She did win doubles in Berlin. So, maybe she has some confidence from that. And she seemed like she was, I watched the match,
against Kvitova, she looked better. That's for sure. And
it's just so hard. She could knock, she'll probably totally overwhelm, volley nets with pace. But then, against Fernandez, Fernandez is able to, attack her backhand. And if she's just a little off, that could be the upset there before she even reaches Boskova.
Yeah. They had a very tight match in Indian Wells, which was, yeah. It was at times frustrating to watch Garcia not close that out in 2 sets, but I loved, but obviously, Fernandez is also someone who I probably would have had higher at this point had she not been injured last year for like that 3 or 4 month stretch with her foot injury. But
yeah, so I like Kudermetova to go through, and then my dark horse would be Boskova, I'd probably say. As much as a seeded player can be a dark horse.
Yeah, for sure. This would be a little different from you. I'm going to take Vekic.
Okay. But fair, very fair.
I'll probably take Vekic, actually, to get to the quarters.
Yeah, because I feel like whoever comes out of this bottom, like section 4, is probably going to beat whoever comes out of section 3. Like the what is it? The third eighth versus the fourth eighth. So that'll. I mean, what do you think? Do you agree?
I do. I would just want to see Pegula in the first couple of rounds, just so like if she's like blitzing, oh my goodness.
You okay?
Okay.
Everything good?
It's gonna wait for this to die. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You could probably hear the background noise, right?
Oh, I didn't hear any of that. No.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I wanted to pause a little bit just because there's a lot of noise and going on outside my room. But
that's okay. I didn't hear any of it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm curious to see how Pegula comes out in the first couple of rounds, and if she's sort of, it looks like okay, she's really feeling it this tournament, and because I didn't get that feeling in the first 2 rounds of the French, for example. And I haven't really got that feeling so far, even in the matches that she should be winning. And if I kind of see that, okay, like, she's kind of here to like, she's sort of back at that level where, okay, like she's hitting stronger down the middle. She's got like that, she's got the kind of game like on a low bouncing court that could, make players press and go for too much because of how little direction she gives in her shots, and it's just like at the same time, like, do I see an overwhelming until Samsonova? Do I really see someone that can, overpower her? Probably not. So
Fair.
it's tough.
And it'll be interesting, like if she's beating Lauren Davis like 6-3, 7-6, where like she has
That's what I mean. When it's a grind, like if she loses a set or something, then I'm kind of gonna be like, okay, like I don't think she's gonna get to the quarters, and then maybe it's probably gonna be up for grabs. But
either Vekic, Kudermetova, or maybe Goska, or I mean, I guess we have to throw Garcia in the conversation still. Yeah, Samsonova, I wish, if it was the Samsonova that blitzed through the 2021 Wimbledon, until the Pliskova match, had great warm-up, that'd be a different story. But
won Berlin coming in and beat Bencic, and that was she really made her mark. But
I feel like we did a pretty good job with the top half of the draw.
Yes, I can go to the bottom and move things along. But what are kind of your thoughts on Jabeur and Kvitova in this section? Kvitova has obviously been a predictions nightmare because she hasn't won this thing since 2014, and she keeps having all these awesome, warm-ups, and you'd figure like on paper she should be the best player on grass when it's all clicking. But in terms of her draw, she probably has a good first round match. Although, didn't Paulini beat her at the French Open?
No, that was Cocciarito.
That was Cocciarito. Okay, yeah.
But, and that was also, Kvitova was coming back from injury and on favorite surface. It's very much, I would say that Kvitova it's so hard to say because she's looked, as you mentioned before, she's looked great coming into Wimbledon before. And then all it takes for her, she plays such low margin tennis, is one fuck up and then, one bad day and she's done. Sasnovich has a lot of power and variety in the second round. I think she should be able to overpower Paolini in the first round. Then Pliskova has been out of form for a while. She started to show some life. She did beat Elise Mertens. She, Kasatkina's in the finals of Eastbourne and she took a set off her. And if not for a terrible line call, a horrendous line call, maybe would have won that match. Hard to say. That's not the easiest. Second or third round. You mentioned Jabeur. I think Jabeur has, not only is she injured, she doesn't like playing power players because power players did not, like in this case, I remember this match from the Cincinnati Masters last year. The power players, as was the case also with the Rybakina in the U.S. Open or in the Wimbledon final last year, they don't allow her the time to produce her variety. And she's also just not looked great since coming back from her injury. And so for me, again, I mentioned her earlier, Magdalena Freak is a better than you would think grass court player who's going to be a test in the first round. And then in the third round, Kalinina is going to either Kalinina or Andreescu. I actually think it's probably going to be Kalinina. I don't like how Bianca's playing. And then in the fourth round, it's, Pliskova or Kvitova. That's not going to, I just don't see it for, Jabeur just to play, in the quarterfinals, Rybakina or Ostapenko or, maybe Voltaire. And so for me, and then Tatiana Maria is also in the other side of this section. But anyways, I think that Jabeur, this is just not the year for Jabeur, given her form and the draw. And I don't think we could have any trust in her, especially given what we saw the other day versus Georgie, and just overpowering her from the baseline.
Yeah, very fair, because I have seen a lot of those Kvitova-Jabeur matches, and Jabeur's really struggled to, get her slice into play, absorb the pace. The second serve has been attacked like crazy, and even I think Cincinnati 2021, it was a total blitz, and then Cincinnati last year it was more or less the same. But it's not the same Jabeur as last year where she came into Eastbourne playing doubles with Serena, and she had already won Berlin. Like it was,
Forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun.
yeah, like it's like just the vibes were all there. Let's just say, and I just didn't really like also the quarterfinal against Haddad Maia where she had loads of chances to win, and then kind of the third set it was just over after like 4 or 5 games, and
Yeah,
just
she should have won that in straight.
yeah,
She looked good. She looked. I mean, she looked decent until then, and then
she did.
then
Yeah,
it's just like, can we trust her to put together 4 matches in a row to make the quarterfinals?
I would love to see it because I don't think she'll see a bigger Jabeur fan than me, but I think logic is telling me that if Kvitova gets by Paulini and Sasnovich, this could be she could just go on a run again. Like I could,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pliskova might not. Pliskova, like I said, Pliskova has not been great either. Stevanovic is qualified. I've seen her game is tailor made for grass. She has one of the loudest grunts in tennis. That's to the side, but she also has she slices almost every shot that she can. And so she's a very tricky player to play. She's gonna make Pliskova bend. Pliskova's a very tall player as well, so she's gonna make Pliskova bend very low. And so Pliskova's gonna need to be adding, gonna need to make a lot of her serves. But I would be very interested to see an all check battle in the third round between Pliskova and Kvitova. I think that if Kvitova is not at the top of her game and Pliskova is able to make the third round and gain confidence, then that could be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go with Kvitova to come out of this though.
I like Kvitova too. My dark horse would be Pliskova. As much as a seeded player can be a dark horse.
Yeah. But obviously this next section is interesting with Haddad Maia and Rybakina, and I'm kind of not sure what to make of Rybakina just because of how long that illness has prolonged her, Like
you saw today, report came out that she looked basically terrible in her youngest Sabalenka.
So that's not a good sign. And of course, she looked okay against Bekic. Like, the game was
In the first
game
game,
was all right. Yeah, like I mean, she won the first set in a tie break, and then basically a couple of breaks in the second and third, and at times her forehand wasn't working as well. But it was the first match on grass, and I thought, okay, I still probably have her as a slight favorite, but now I see this draw, and I also, I think Haddad Maia finally broke the camera on her back and finally got to the third round of Assam, which she hadn't done. And, she has a good grass court game, obviously. You mentioned, Nottingham last year and winning another title and then getting all the way to the semis of Eastbourne but then crashed out early at Wimbledon. And I just wonder, I mean, Putintseva is going to be a tricky. I could see that being like a close 3-set tussle for sure.
Putintseva just, even though, the grass doesn't necessarily suit her game that well, she's just a competitor. Like she can rally on grass. She'll keep the ball. She'll keep, the drop shot going and the slices, and she'll be fiery. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. And obviously there's a chance also for Ostapenko to make amends if she gets to the second round against Tatiana Maria. Obviously a match that she should have absolutely won last year in the fourth round.
You think, because Kersey is a slight favorite. I lean Maria. Do you lean Maria too?
I do too. I still would lean her. I just think, coming back to where she had that success last year, she was a set away from the Wimbledon final. Like and she is older now. Like she's not the same player she was a year ago for sure. And she also just came off of a really physical week, the week before in 125 before she played Swiatek. So, I definitely think she ran out of gas as well in that first set and probably would have lost anyway. But I just feel like, she's got the kind of pedigree here where Kirstea is a bit hot and cold as well. But, I'm slightly leaning Maria.
Yeah. I think Maria, she's won a WTA title this year already on, altitude conditions, not on grass, but still.
She's won 2 in a row there, right, in Colombia?
Yes. I believe she won. She beat, let's see, I think last year she beat Rakimova. I can't remember who she beat in the final this year, but I know she won it. Then she made, as you mentioned, the Gaiba final, where she was a set away from that title. And then she took it, and then even though she was very fatigued, she still took a set off. Swiatek, which is a good, it's a good result, given the week prior, how fatigued she was and the fact that she was playing Iga. So I really, I think that that's about as much as we can expect of her. I do think that, and, Ostapenko, I'm sure would love this rematch as well. I do think Ostapenko would beat her. In terms of, you mentioned earlier, Rybakina, I just, the fact that she won 11 return points across the final 2 sets of that Beckett match, the fact that she is still clearly struggling with that viral illness, and just, I don't love her draw. Shelby Rogers is a big, can hit the cover off the ball, but she will have a big serve, won't give her that many opportunities on return. Cornet is very crafty, as we saw last year against Swiatek. She loves playing at Wimbledon. She also beat Serena at Wimbledon many years ago in one of the lowest years of my tennis watching life. And that was very disappointing. And then Katie Voltaire in the third round, potentially.
I was going to ask you about Voltaire, actually, because I think
it's fine. She'll have a crowd behind her. She'll have some power. Do I expect, and if Rybakina is...
Would a 4th round shock you for Voltaire?
It wouldn't shock me. A quarterfinal would shock me. Is that fair?
Kind of, that's where I have it too. Like, I think I have Voltaire in the 4th round, just because of like the uncertainty with like the Rybakina and I just think Pera's more of a clay courter, and probably see the crowd getting behind Voltaire and then maybe carrying her to the second week. But after that, like, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think that Pera looked very good against Boskova in Berlin.
Yeah,
I agree with you though. I think that she's much better on slower, clay, and I just think that the home crowd, it does play a big factor at Wimbledon. Remember Heather Watson, the home crowd almost pushed Watson over Serena not too long ago. Or maybe it is that long ago and I'm just feeling old. But
2015. I mean, it was a good match. 3rd round.
Yeah. So, the crowd does, even though Wimbledon's and this is why I like the US Open better, I like the atmosphere more, but when it comes to the Brits, that the Wimbledon really does, the British crowd get behind their own. And so that's, I would not be shocked if we had a center court Voltaire, Rybakina match, and Voltaire won in the 3rd round. But
Yes.
I actually think that Voltaire, this is crazy to even say, that Voltaire is a better shot of making the 3rd round compared to Rybakina.
Yeah, so I actually don't disagree because of Rogers and Cornet probably, but yeah, I mean, and then of course this is the section, with Krejcikova and Badosa and Sakari. I mean,
this is fun. This is the bottom half, like really fun stuff.
I saw somebody put out a tweet. Who do you think Tsitsipas would root for, Sakari or Badosa?
Oh man, that Badosa was as much there. As much as they're, he better with as much as he's posting her in social media, right? I don't, typically I would say upset alert here, right? Because risk on grass, but just, we don't know what Allison's form is going to, what's she going to look like out there.
I also wonder what Keys just coming off of the title and playing a Brit in the 1st round in Cartel. Well, actually pushed Andreescu, another match with Andreescu, my goodness. Like, she was in a dogfight, 7-5 on the 3rd in Bad Homburg. Again, not much so with that, but
I would be worried too in the 2nd round. Golubic with her backhand slice, with just the way she manipulates the ball around the court. It's not going to go toe to toe power wise, but it would keep the ball out of Keys' strike zone. And then back to what you were saying earlier about Sakari, I don't think it's a given she beat Kostyuk.
No.
Actually, I know Kostyuk is around 500 on grass, but at the same time, I think that her game, I think she can at least get a set off. I think she will at least get a set off of Sakari. I think that Kostyuk's flatter ball striking, bigger serve really does work better on quicker surfaces. And whereas I think Sakari, although she had some success in Berlin, is not quite the player she is on slower surfaces.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Sakari on grass is, by far that's where she looks the most uncomfortable. Just watching the match against Maria, and then also watching her play against Jia Wang, and then in Nottingham, where suddenly there was an opportunity to at least make another semifinal, but it's just, uh, yeah, like I mean, I could see Sakari maybe getting to the fourth round, but I don't know after that.
Now, would you? How competitive do you think? Let's say it's the second round, Mira Andreeva or versus Krejcikova. How competitive do you think Andreeva could be?
I think it can be fairly competitive, actually. Yeah, I mean, having qualified and also just Krejcikova day to day since Miami,
Yeah,
it's been really such a mixed bag. Like especially, I mean, Birmingham was of course encouraging, and you think maybe if she wins that first set again, whoever won that first set was going to win that final. It was just one of those sets. But and then playing Heather Watson in the first round that's not easy. Tricky. That could be an upset alert right there. So I mean, so like, and then Kaya Juvan is not bad on the grass too. So
Potapova is rising quickly.
yeah, Potapova is like I think yeah, just like a consistent now fourth round quarters like every week. She's
a big game. Like she's pretty. I mean, when she first came on the scene, I thought she was a little more. But I think she was definitely more defensive than she is now, or she's just unloading on forehands. I don't necessarily know if I trust her on grass as much, but that would not be an easy third rounder.
No.
And then so I really, this is a pretty, I think there's a lot of contenders here. And even look at Naive, beating Yastremska in qualies. She's much better on grass than I expected her to be, given what I saw from her on clay. This is a wide open quarter though. A lot of contenders, but no no clear favorite. Do you agree with that?
I do, yeah. I might just pick Potapova honestly to get out of this section, just because I'm probably more sure about her than Krejcikova right now. Mm-hmm. And I also just think, if she plays Sakari in the fourth round or something, I could see finally Potapova having a quarterfinal breakthrough, let's say.
You know what? I was gonna pick Krejcikova. Oh man,
you probably could, just because like Krejcikova and her.
I think I'm gonna go with Krejcikova, just the experience as well. Just she's been around longer. I'm thinking she's probably played a higher number of grass court matches, which again, I know I'm like talking about that. I really do think on grass,
on grass that means a lot more for sure.
On grass, let's see, she's 18 Potapova. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna just to keep it interesting. I'll go with Krejcikova. And then for a dark horse, I can't have a dark horse that you're.
Probably Andreeva.
I'll go. No, I'm going to go Golubic. I think I would. Something tells me that she's going to upset Keys in the second round.
I probably have that. Like if it's, I want to see what the line is between her and Keys if they play in the second round, because I think that should be close to a 50-50 if people are watching the first round.
And I remember what we were saying too about Eastbourne finalists don't necessarily do that well at Wimbledon.
And Keys' grass court results haven't translated that well to Wimbledon either, apart from 2015, where she made the quarterfinals.
Although I'd love to see Mira. Yeah, I love seeing these new players coming up, and so I'm rooting for Mira. I thought that she, I think that the French Open, it was just, she just got frustrated and overwhelmed by the crowd, by just the occasion against Goff a little bit after the first set. And I feel like, as she goes through more majors, hopefully she starts gaining that maturity that, Coco, which maybe we took for granted because Coco had that at such a young age, where maybe I just expected that, everyone to kind of be that way. But I hopefully, now that she's kind of had like a major where she's, won a few rounds under her belt, that she can really just relax and play tennis, in the main draw here.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. I mean, and then this section is the one filled with checks, of course.
This is crazy. This is another Mukova, Noskova, Alexandrova, Georgie, and Sabalenka.
Five of the biggest power players who just took them all in the same section. I mean, I feel like Muhova and Niemeyer is a fun match to watch, and so is.
Quarterfinals last year, right?
Yep.
She lost to Verbakken, I believe.
She did, yeah. It was fairly tight too. I think.
Noskova's good on quicker surfaces. Alexandrova's won a title on grass this season already. I mean, that's like, and Georgie, might lose to Gracheva, but she's 2-1 in the head-to-head against Sabalenka.
Yeah, I was gonna say if she plays Sabalenka, that could be a banana skin for Sabalenka.
She's won on grass against Sabalenka, and she's won a major at last year's French Open. So she's not going to be scared of playing Sabalenka. But then again, can we really, we just saw Georgie lose to Venus Williams. Can we really even expect her to beat Gracheva? Who knows,
Yeah. And I mean, Blinkova and Marino are always somewhat better on the grass. Same with Whitmire, but she's not in that form, of course. And then you also have... Yeah, probably you'll have your eyes on Brangle versus Nirani for sure. I know you'll be watching that one, David.
And I also like Irina Baggio. I actually think she has a good shot against Marino is not, and you think Marino big serve, big game, but the results lately at least have not exactly translated, and just the difference in rally tolerance and movement between the two is pretty big. I just want to watch Kaya Mukova. I was going to say Kaya Mukova more and more, just because she's so fun to watch.
Her game is the most fun player to watch right now in the WTA. Like,
doesn't her game translate so well to grass too?
Yeah, I mean, she's made 2 Wimbledon quarterfinals already, and if she could do that to Swiatek on clay, then just like imagine, like it's one of those Ash Barty kind of things where it's like just so perfectly suited to grass. But now the question is, the draw is brutal. And I think she has the worst draw of any of the top 16 seeds by far. Like, I feel confident in saying that. I mean, you have Niemeyer, you have Noskova, you have Alexandrova, and you have Sabalenka. Like, what is a tougher route to the quarterfinal than those 4?
Yeah. And
there's question marks about her health, about her fitness, I presume, and obviously the hangover from the French Open as well.
But she was also, a report came out, she was injured during that match against...
She was, yes.
So
there were fatigue issues.
And as we've been saying, grass court preparations are very important. And so, the fact that she hasn't played on grass.
If she had a couple of easy rounds, like, that wouldn't even matter. Like, I think she could just work her way through, but not against Niemeyer.
Yeah, if she, let's say, played Brangle or Irani, she would probably come through easily. By the way, I think Irani has a decent shot there, but we'll see. I mean, in that one match.
Yes.
I just feel like she's also just going to go up against... I think Alexandrova this year on grass is buzzsaw, to an extent. And so I don't love it. I know Alexandrova has never made a second week at a slam before, but I don't love that draw, even, beyond the first 2 rounds for Mukova.
I do, and then she also, Alexandrova, it's one of those, like, she had match point against Aran Maya. It's like, if she wins at that one point, it's one of those, like, what ifs.
Yeah. But she probably would have beaten Sorribes Tormo, and I think that was Sorribes Tormo was the 4th round.
Yeah, and then she would have played Jabeur, but anyway, it's like,
Oh yeah, but I know what you're saying. And then
Emma Navarro is pretty good on the grass too, but again, like, she's going deep this week, and also it's just
she's playing a buzzsaw.
Yeah,
and I just don't. I think she's just a little too. And I think I really was impressed, Vansh, with how she adapted her game to grass, because I always thought of her as like a slower surface with that heavy forehand player. Maybe it's just all the Charleston wild cards over the years. I see her on grass on clay at the highest levels more. But I just feel like, she's just a little too limited as a player to take on a big ball striker, just a game grass player in Alexandrova. I think that her second serve is going to sit up too much for Alexandrova, and I just don't think that she's going to be able to get into that many return games. Whereas, I think it's another player, bad draw, because I think if she played Brangle or Irani or, Tomova or Nai, or, Betova, she would be fine. But just a tough draw.
I'm going to say this is where we have the most shocking upsets, maybe, like in terms of like, would it shock you if like Alexandrova came out at this quarter? Probably not, right? Or maybe a little bit. Like, if it's her against Sabalenka or something, let's say she beats Mukhova and Sabalenka back to back to get to the quarters.
That would not shock me. No, that's
So
in the fact, I think that's what I mean. I don't think she's going to beat Sabalenka in the well, I think she's going to. I don't know who she's going to beat. I think she's going to go through this section though.
I do too. I now I have Potapova and Alexandrova in my quarters.
Yeah, I mean that would be that would be a very interesting quarterfinal. I really do. Maybe not the biggest names in the book, but in terms of just like really strong players.
I love it when two big hitters like play each other in the WTA. Like that's one of my favorite matches to watch right now. Like even this might be an unpopular opinion, but like I loved watching Sabalenka versus Pliskova, for example, in the semifinal. 3 years ago. Like it was just bang bang, big first strike tennis.
I remember that match. There were more, in the women's side, there's always more rallies, even for the power players than whereas in the men's, and this is why, especially on faster surf, I like women's tennis more, is just because, there's only so many times I can watch, your Raoniches,
Isner,
I know that I'm like dating myself with that, or Isners, or, whoever, where it's like, even like with your Sabalenkas or Rabakinas or Alexandrovas, who are going to hit some aces on return serves, you're still getting more baseline tennis, which is, enjoy.
All right. I feel like we could go on like 3 hours, but it's okay. Now we got to make our picks, man.
God. Okay. This is shit at the fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to make my pick?
Sure. I mean, let's just go semifinal, final winner. How about that?
Ready? So semifinals, I'm going to have Iga. I'm going to have Kudermetova. Guess I'll go with, this is where it gets hard, and that's in the bottom. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Ostapenko, and I'm going to go with, Alexandrova. Who are your semifinals?
Okay, I got Iga in the top, and then I have Iga against. I have Vekic in my quarters. I'll tell you that. And then,
this is tough.
It is. I was like, it's really hard.
Well, tougher than like on clay, you can be like Iga to go all the way. Not even think about it. Now it's like, oh man, she has a great draw and she's the best player in the world, but this is the worst surface, and it's like a mind fuck.
I'll keep riding the Donna Vekic train. I'll just say Iga and Donna Vekic.
Okay.
For my first semifinal, and then I'll say Alexandrova.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there.
Alexandrova is getting to the semis. Against Kvitova.
Okay. That's who did I ask?
Well, yeah, like it's gonna be Ostapenko versus Kvitova, and then that's like flip a coin, basically.
Yeah, I like that. And they almost played in the first round of this past week, but Kvitova pulled out, which I think was a great decision. Okay, so then in the semifinals, I'm gonna have Iga in 3, and then I'm gonna have Ostapenko in 3.
Wow.
I don't know. Oh God!
I'm going to get screwed over now because I'm literally going to pick for Kvitova to win this thing.
No, I'm going to go with Alexandrova in 3. Actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm like, do I really trust? Do I really trust any of these players? Like Alexandrova never made a second week. Ostapenko can hit herself out of any match. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking. I promised myself I wouldn't do this. I literally promised myself I'm not going to pick Kvitova to lose in the first round, and I'm not going to pick her to win the thing. I'm going to go somewhere in between in the 4th round. But now I look at this draw, and I'm just like, I don't know who else I trust. So it's like now I have to ride the Kvitova bandwagon.
I didn't really trust Kvitova given what we've seen in years past either. It's like...
No, I know. That's what I mean. It's like a first round loss or go all the way. Like and then I know last year she got to the 3rd round, and then Badosa took her out, but
that was she played a bad match against Badosa. Right. Like that was an unacceptable loss in my opinion.
But I like that she didn't play Eastbourne this week, because at least that means, like, or after, if Kvitova and Swiatek play each other, I'm going to say Kvitova beats Alexandrova.
Okay.
And in both the titles that Kvitova's won, she's beaten Alexandrova. And now I think she's going to do it for the third time. I think it's just a better matchup. I can just trust her more. She's in the semis now. And then, and then Swiatek. I think Swiatek is going to get to the final she's going to beat Vekic.
And so you have Swiatek versus Kvitova. I have Swiatek versus Alexandrova. Okay. If that's the matchup, I have Swiatek winning, I'm going to say in 3 sets. I don't trust Alexandrova in her first Grand Slam final in that spot. What do you think? And it's just, what the hell happened? I really have Swiatek winning Wimbledon? Like, is that really
I have Swiatek winning Wimbledon too. I think she's going to beat Kvitova in the final. I do.
It's just like, if you had told me before the draw came out, I would have had that. I would have said, what the Swiatek, Alexandrova. I mean, I would have Alexandrova maybe, but like, what? But it just makes sense, right?
Yeah, it just works because, like, she didn't go all the way this week, but more importantly than that, it's just most important thing is she avoided all those big hitters.
Yeah.
And it's like every single one that's like a flat, big power for a strike tennis player, they can just rush her, like make her like challenge her movement, like just every single thing.
And with every match, she's going to gain more confidence and more competence.
And the grass is going to slow down. It's going to be all brown in the second week, and it's going to be playing more and more like a hard court.
Yeah, she really won the draw lottery. Is it like it's like the rich get richer, right? As if she needed it. I mean, she did need it on grass,
but this would be huge. Like, it's still going to be massive for her to like go all the way and like actually.
Because then the career Grand Slam comes right into sight.
Yes.
Because I always expected it to be Wimbledon, the one that probably she never wins. But if she can win this one, then it's a realistic possibility.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, we both had Iga coming through, and I guess we broke this out in quite extreme detail, which was fun as always. And for the first time guest, I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm a little long-winded. I love talking about this stuff.
I did too. No, it was a lot of fun, dude. We were at risk of going like 4 hours, so I gotta.
That's why it's always good when the podcast hosts keep me on track. Because if you don't keep on track, Vansh, I will just talk.
No, I mean, I'm glad. I mean, and if our listeners are still listening into this, 80, 85 minutes in, that means like you're like hardcore. So
yeah.
This is
probably the people listening to this podcast for the most part. Do you find that it's more like casuals or more hardcore? I don't know if you
think it's like kind of somewhere in between, but there's also those like really diehards that will like want to analyze, I don't know, John Vekic's slice or something, and they'll listen to this. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love the little comment section on y'all's talking tennis stuff too. Like when y'all did the actor stuff, like just hearing everybody like chime in, which was fun. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. Seriously, thank you so much.
It was a blast, and we'll definitely do this again, David. And where can the listeners, find your work and follow you?
So yeah, you can follow me at TennisBlogger1, and then that's my Twitter, and then you can also my tennis Twitter, and then you can also find me on. I'm gonna be producing a lot of Action Network content over the next 2 weeks, and so it will be all over my timeline. And then if you go to actionnetwork.com, you click on the tennis link, and then you'll find it there as well. I just wrote up this morning a Wimbledon women's outright preview, and then tomorrow I'm going to start working on the individual matches. So yeah, I really do appreciate any support, and so yeah, and I'm excited to consume your content too, Vansh. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, David, and I love reading your tweets and love looking at all your stuff, and I'm sure I'll check out, me and the listeners will all check out Action Network, and we know exactly where to find you. So yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.